Team car. Good afternoon.
How you doing?
Good to see you. I'm well. Nice to have you with us. We've got a, well, I would say hungry crowd of media, but they've been eating a little while, so excited to have
talking about that. It's like end of day two. Sure y'all are so pumped to still be here, but they broke out the popcorn, which was nice.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start with our first question because I think a bunch of them want to chat with you with Don here.
Don Gamble, rapping on racing. Ryan, I've been following the Blaney family in racing since the late 50s when your grandfather Lou started his career. Big winner, open wheel modifieds and sprint cars. He decided to get out of the sprint cars so your dad could race. Big winner, sprint cars. Your uncle, Dale, big winner, sprint cars. You're in an asphalt late model. Now, growing up watching all these victories with your family, where and when did you decide, and it was a good decision, I want to do asphalt late models and I want to go to NASCAR?
Yeah, it was really where we grew up at, pretty much. You know, my dad and my whole family grew up in Ohio, and, you know, that's dirt central pretty much right there. And I grew up in North Carolina, in High Point, about an hour up the road, and there's no sprint car, there's no dirt period around here pretty much, and there's only a handful of tracks, and it's really asphalt late model stuff. You know, the Pass Tour and the ASA stuff back then was still around, so it was just location and really how we got started. Bobby Labonte built a good, actually a fantastic facility in Salisbury, North Carolina, a quarter midget track, and I kind of started my asphalt career, and we just went from there with legend cars at Charlotte Motor Speedway to to late models and then up the ladder. So I've dabbled in the sprint car world a little bit. My dad used to build them. He still builds his cars. And then when I got with the Penske Group, it kind of shut that whole operation down. But just location, if I grew up in Ohio, I'm sure I would have done the dirt route, and who knows where we would be. But just growing up in North Carolina changed that.
You're way better off where you are. Now, I know the Penske Group welcomed you with open arms. I'd like you to share with the folks when you came to a luncheon and got a standing ovation. You were late for lunch.
Oh, yeah, that was great. So the one thing you don't want to be is late to a Penske luncheon, or it was a breakfast, I think.
Breakfast, okay.
You got everybody there. Mr. Penske's there and all the brass, and I walk in late. I don't know what happened. I don't think I overslept. I might have overslept, but I got there, and yeah, it was a standing ovation, and that was like in 2012 or 13, right when I got there, and
yeah.
Talk about wanting to walk out of the room and started sweating bullets and just nervous as can be. And then you got to go up and give a speech right after that. So, yeah, that was a rough day for sure. So I make sure I'm one of the earliest to the Penske breakfast.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
There we go. Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. What did you feel you learned the most last year, and what do you feel like you need to improve on the most?
I think you learn the most of trying to improve your car over the whole race, and the amount of preparation and setup time it takes to get these cars to where you need to be. Most of the time, if you're not fast on Friday or Saturday, it makes a really tough weekend. So the preparation before you even get to the track is key to try to be as close as you can be. And, as drivers, we can only do so much about that, but trying to give the best information that you can throughout the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and during the race on Sunday is so key. And that was probably one of the biggest things I tried to work on and get better at. I spent a lot of time in the off-season trying to do just that. And then the communication side between myself and my engineers and crew chief, that's been something that but I've been trying to improve a lot and trying to understand these cars more. So I feel like some of those changes are the biggest ones that we've made in the off-season, and hopefully for the better.
Louis Frank.
Louis Frank from Reuters, to your left. Happy New Year. Following on Penske, and I'm not going to put you on the spot about Penske. There's been some rumors he's interested in running sports cars again. And considering your background, would that interest you to run something like the Rolex?
I'd be very interested. With the Ford GT program starting up and it doing so well, I would love to do that. I would love to do the Rolex 24 or anything like that, one of the bigger races, or even a smaller race. I'd just love to drive some of them cars. I love road courses, and Ford has made a big commitment into the GT program and the Mustang program, so that's something I would highly enjoy doing. If I ever got a call or opportunity from Mr. Penske or Ford, I would definitely do that in a heartbeat.
Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Performance Motorsports Network. Okay, so when Bubba was in here earlier, he said point blank that you needed to work on your vocal skills if y'all were ever going to drop a record. We've been watching that, and I don't even know where quite to go with that. But the fun that you two have had, I mean, talk a little bit about that. And then I'm digging the fire suit. Where did that design come from for 2017? Because it looks really sharp.
Yeah, thanks. The fire suit, it's really a, kind of a, we based it on the Darlington and the Talladega suit I wore last year. Darlington, when we had Pearson on the car, we just changed a couple things up with the colors and made Motorcraft and Quick Lane bigger and stuff like that. But no, I really like that suit. I know a lot of people enjoyed the throwback suit that we had, and it was just like Mr. Pearson wore when he won the Triple Crown that year. So, Wood Brothers and I talked about trying to do a version of that, and I think it turned out really well. Why not have an old school suit for the oldest running team in NASCAR? So I'm happy we were able to do that. I'm really happy that Motorcraft and everybody let us do this, and I think it gives us a really good look and the right look for what the Wood Brothers represent, which is old school racing.
Wolfgang.
Wolfgang Munzer from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. Your team moved for this season in a new location in Mooresville, leaving this area here. Is there any addition concerning technical facility which was not in the old workshop, or is it more or less identical to the old workshop in Harrisburg?
Really, the biggest reason for the move was try to get closer to our alliance at Penske. Logistically, it was really hard to get to Harrisburg. Running cars back and forth or people back and forth, that was really tough. That's a long haul. But now we're 10 minutes down the road, which is really nice to have a good shop there in the Mooresville Drag Park, and to have Wood Brothers have their own shop. They part-owned it with the JTG group, so to have their own shop now is really nice, and they really enjoy that. So they have plenty of room in there to have our cars in there, and then them to do, they rebuild a bunch of old cars. Leonard has all his projects, so that the building we have now is logistically makes a lot more sense, and then it's their own building, so I think that just improves our alliance with the Penske Group for sure.
Here to the left, Hill.
Well, I didn't have a question.
Oh, I thought that was the way I was supposed to go. We've got one here, Barry.
Yeah, Barry, Richmond Piedmont Broadcasting Corporation. Being based in Danville, and then, of course, the Wood Brothers out of Stewart. Talk about bringing them back into full-time competition last year, just how that felt at the shop, and then you being a part of that.
Yeah, it was great to get them back full-time. It was our first full-time season in, I think, about 8 years, so that was nice to do. It was also a lot of change. That's a big jump and big commitment to go from 15 to 18 races to 36. It's a lot more preparation. It's a lot more people required to do that, both at the racetrack and away from the racetrack. So that was, whether it was, ultimately it was great to do, but it was a lot of work to try to get it there. And I think now having a full year under our belt, not only myself, but our team and the Wood Brothers in general, you kind of know what to expect week in and week out. So then that's just going to make us stronger, having a full year behind us, and it really makes you look forward to the upcoming season.
About time for one more for Ryan. Lewis.
Pounding the Penske theme. Do you have to have a separate starch shirt for when you appear at Penske functions, different from the Wood Brother functions?
Yeah. I've never washed the starch shirt because I will mess it up. So they just get me a new one every single time. I'm pretty sure that's with Brad and Joey too. They just have a new one for us. I get them dirty and I can't wash anything without shrinking it or messing it up. So they just get a new one. It's nice. But yes, I do have separate ones. The Wood Brothers ones are a little bit more laid back, but the Penske ones, they're definitely making sure we look good. And I shaved today, which was nice. And did my hair, which was good. So.
Well, we do appreciate it. Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
10 minutes goes by quickly with Ryan Blaney. That way, Ryan, that way. Had an interesting off-season, joining Front Row, back with Front Row. You and Landon.
Back in a different car number, so don't get confused.
We get confused in the hallways sometimes, but you got to be looking forward to it. Know a lot about this team, please.
Yeah, good to see all of you guys. Good to be back at Front Row. That goes back to, what your parents teach you and different things when you're growing up. Like, don't ever burn a bridge. Don't ever make people mad when you might be calling them again one day. So this was a good situation that I was able to line myself back with Ford Performance and Front Row Motorsports. They've obviously done a really nice job growing that team on and off the racetrack the last couple of years. And with Chris Buescher's big win last season and their spot in the playoff, it shows that they're continuing to, make investments on and off the racetrack to make that team better. And, they've got a couple of wins under their belts in the last 4 years. And I think that Landon Castle is going to be a fun teammate, and we can challenge ourselves, push ourselves to work hard to try to beat one another. But I think we'll also be able to help our organization get better. And we've got some really good partners that have re-signed and coming back for another season. And Bob Jenkins continues to invest in the sport of NASCAR. So, yeah, it's a great situation for me and a lot of familiar faces, and very happy to be back with those guys.
A lot of familiar faces out here. Want to chat with you? We'll start down there.
David, you're a car guy. What do teams do to get back that downforce they're losing with the reduction in the rear spoiler?
Yeah, so they're working in the wind tunnel every single day. These teams have shifts at the 2 wind tunnels here in North Carolina, 24 hours a day, probably 6-7 days a week. A lot of times you hear of a team, their shift is midnight to 7 a.m. and these wind tunnels are just running all day long. You've got all the manufacturers, all the race teams that are in there going through different scenarios. They've even got good simulation from a computer standpoint where they can change measurements and body builds very little, and so they can work through a lot of changes before they even get to the wind tunnel and have a lot more efficient time at the tunnel. So throughout the year, they end up gaining back what is lost at a rule change. So I think that's why NASCAR continues to make some small minor adjustments, because by October, November, we're already back to the downforce and side force numbers that was taken away in January or December of the previous year. But they're just working hard. They're so smart today, and they're working within the rules, within the tolerances, and they're very, very smart to get back. So NASCAR's got a tough job on their hand to keep trimming that downforce number, and I think they've done a good job, but the teams, it's their job to find it back, and they'll find it back, and whoever finds it back the quickest will have a competitive edge for a little while.
Reed Spencer.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. David, you and Landon are both excellent plate racers. How much are you looking forward to and pointing toward the Daytona 500?
Yeah, the Daytona 500 obviously a big race for our entire industry, but for a team like Front Row Motorsports, it does level the playing field a little bit, and it presents an opportunity for us to find victory lane. We obviously proved that a few years ago at Daytona, and I think that, or at Talladega, and so I think that with Landon and I's experience and our willingness to work together, that's a great thing. Obviously, you have to have some luck, and you have to have a good car. You have to have everything go your way. But we know that going to Daytona, if we do everything right, we can have an opportunity to win, and that's all you can ask for. Anything can happen in those last 10, 15 laps. But if you can just have an opportunity, I know that Doug Yates is going to have a great engine. I know that our race team has prepared a good Ford Fusion to go down there and have some speed, and we've just got to make good decisions throughout the speed weeks, and not only on Sunday for the Daytona 500, but it starts on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. We want to take care of our race car, and with the new segments, I think it'll be important to try to keep some track position throughout the day. I don't think you can afford to ride around in the back and take it easy and just count on the last 40 or 50 laps working your way to the front. So I'm optimistic going to Daytona, and it's such a tone setter for the rest of the season that if we can just come out of there with a top 10, top 15 finish, man, it just makes Atlanta and Las Vegas so much easier going to, knowing that you've got a good start to the year.
McFadden.
Dale McFadden with NBC Sports. How would you describe the growth you've seen in Landon Castle as a driver since he broke into the Cup Series back in 2008? And how will you develop your relationship as teammates and your dynamic together as the season progresses? Yeah,
well, I don't know a tremendous amount of the details about Landon's early career. My first year was 2007, so we were only a year apart. But, I was very fortunate to be with Roush Fenway Racing for my first 4 or 5 seasons, and that helped me grow and mature a lot. But I had a lot of pressure being in a top-tier ride, and so I think, a guy like Landon, he's had some good opportunities over the years, but he hasn't had that consistent team, consistent program behind him. So I think he's found a good home at Front Row, and he's been able to learn a lot. And I've learned as much driving for small teams as I have for the larger ones. You learn different things and you see different things. But Landon's a young guy. He's healthy. He's got a good racing IQ, I call it. He's a short track racer. He's raced a lot. He's worked on his own race cars. So it's fun to have a teammate that is a racer, enjoys it, gets it. He knows the business side of it too. So I think that we'll, we have hit it off, and we've known each other over the years, but we really haven't been good buddies. So I look forward to spending some time with him, getting to know him. And like I said earlier, I think we'll both challenge each other to be better, but also help each other to grow our team and to be more competitive.
Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Performance Motorsports Network. Actually, talking about Landon, David, he made a comment yesterday about the new format and talking about how the smaller teams that he felt like, depending on the circumstances, some of the tracks where a lot of people are playing strategy and maybe smaller teams get caught in the crossfire. I mean, how do you view the new format and how it may change how you guys have to race over the course of 500 miles?
Yeah, I think being caught in the crossfire, as you described it, is what the fans and what the TV partners want to see, because that's going to create some drama. When you have a car that's a little faster, a little slower, all mixed in, that's when you have action. That's when you have guys getting pushed out of the way or fending a car off or moving around. That's when you have good, hard racing. So I think that a scenario could play out to where a caution comes out 15, 20 laps prior to a stage being finished, but those top 8 or 10 guys, they want to keep their track position, but if we're running 15th, we can come in and take 4 tires and try to be aggressive and get into the points at the end of that stage. So I think you're going to see some scenarios like that, and obviously it will be a learning curve because every racetrack, every tire wear is different at each race, and the segments are going to be different lengths. We've talked a little bit about Daytona just being right around a fuel window, and so you're going to have some guys, if you're out front and you're not you don't have the best fuel mileage, you might have to pit versus a guy who takes a chance and tries to run mid-pack and save some fuel. You might be able to run that complete stage without pitting. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for strategy, and I think it plays into a smaller team's wheelhouse to be able to capitalize and score some of those points. I think that would be cool.
Got about time for one more for David. There we go.
Zach Tansworthy, Front Stretch. It's just an interesting position that you're in, being back with Front Row. You're with Michael Waltrip Racing, some bigger teams. So being back with the team, how much have you learned, since that time, now being back?
Well, I think you learn a lot depending on who you're working with and how much you want to learn, how much you're involved, and obviously the larger teams do have more resources at their fingertips. They have a little more, they're more engineering driven, so they understand how things happen a little better. And yeah, my time at Joe Gibbs Racing and then at MWR, I definitely did learn a lot, and there was a lot of technology that I hadn't seen or been able to use over the last couple of years at Front Row back when I drove for them in 2013 and 14. So I felt like I did learn a lot, but just even manufacturers, they do things a little different. They view things a little different. So you pick up on some of that, and it's good. When you drive for the same team and the same manufacturer for 6 or 8 years, you do kind of fall into that line to where everything's the same, a lot of similarities year in and year out. So it was good to kind of open my eyes and see some of the different things, and I look forward to working with the Front Row guys and trying to continue to help them grow their team.
Well, our time is narrow enough to where we won't be able to go to another question. We just say thanks for joining us. David Ragan.
Thank you guys for coming out, and we'll see everybody in Daytona.
Looking forward to it. Always a pleasure. David Ragan.
Thank you, guys.
Following.
And girls.
Yes.
Ladies.
I think you go that way. Awesome. Next up, love about you, Elliott Sadler, coming to the podium next. And I know you've got some questions for him, so we'll go ahead and take the first one right off the bat. It looks like Jacob Seelman's got his hand highest in the air to start things off.
Jacob Seelman, Performance Motorsports Network. Elliott, going into this season, the uncertainty went away when One Main came back and re-upped their support. Now for you to go into this season with an expanded JRM team to have 4 cars now that all of you can rely on each other and the new format, how much motivation is there for you to push through this, learn this quickly to get back to that championship 4 in November?
That's a good question, but before I do that, man, Happy New Year to everybody. It's good to see you guys. And do any of you guys have any picks, to get like popcorn out of your teeth? The popcorn's good, but I think I'm still wearing it on my teeth. We definitely have a lot of certainty at Junior Motorsports right now. Definitely going to 4 full-time teams. We think was a great direction to go in. Dale and Kelly have made a huge commitment to our program to be good, and we have a lot of experience on that team, mixed with a lot of young talent. I mean, William Byron's a real deal, and I think he's going to be really good this year and really fast. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that. I remember coming in as a rookie driver and was able to lean on people like Jeff Green and Dale Jarrett and people like that, and I kind of want to be that guy for William. So he's come in. He's definitely wise amongst his years, and he's got a great race team around him, and we're looking forward to him to do really good things as well as our team. We feel we're going to be really strong again, and Justin, and of course Michael as well. So we feel very poised and feel like we got all the right ingredients to to have a good shot at it this year again.
Wolfgang.
This popcorn's tough.
Yes, well, okay. Wolfgang Monser from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. From somewhere in America, I got a press release. You will drive the Daytona 500 in Cup for Baldwin Racing. In case this race will become exceptional, mega successful for you, what will be the rest of the season? We'll see you in more Cup races?
I don't know. We're going to take it one race at a time. I mean, Tommy called me and asked me, would I do the Daytona 500? And, man, why not? That's such a big race for our sport. Tommy and I have actually won a race together at Daytona. We won a dual race when he was my crew chief. So, and he likes doing things the right way. He's building a brand new car, and we want to go down there and compete. So I felt like my restrictor plate racing is still one of my strong suits. We've run very good at Daytona the last couple of years, and I've had some issues the last couple of Daytona 500s. I should have won one in the rain, and then I hit the pothole in turn 1 and broke a shock leading with about 20 laps to go too. So I feel like, man, I've let a couple slip away, and you know what? I want my kids to be a part of it. My kids are not old enough to understand what was going on last time I was in a Daytona 500, so I really want them to come and be a part of it, and I want to do a good job for them.
Hill.
Hi, Elliott. How are you doing? Hill Overton, WIXC Radio. You have seen, of course, and heard about the new rules format that's come out now in the running races. It's like, yeah, somebody said something. How optimistic are you about that? And you think that the segments can play into your hands, earning points as you go along in segments 1 and 2 versus just the final segment?
Yeah, I got a few comments for that. One, drivers, look, guys, racers race. And I kind of echo my boss, Dale Jr., on this. I saw him tweet this the other day. We all race hard. There's no certain part of the race that we're riding around. We're all going to race hard. The biggest thing that's going to change is strategic moves by the crew chiefs, and when we pit and when we don't, when we short pit, when we do 2 tires, everything that we can do to create a bonus point for those segments. The biggest part of all these rules that I love the most, take this from a driver that had 50 points taken away from him last year, after the regular season and between rounds 1 and 2, is every bonus point now I earn, I keep through the first and second round of the race. That is a huge difference than what we've had in the past. And I'll try to use a different angle of that. It's like I was explaining to them outside. It's like the Patriots and the Steelers played last week in the playoff game, right? Instead of Patriots having home field advantage, you play on a neutral field somewhere, out where San Diego Chargers are from. That's what the old system used to be like, because it would always reset back to 0. But now, if you get some segment wins and get some bonus points, that all transfers. So now you have a little bit of advantage. So now you're willing to take a little bit bigger chance to get an extra point at Daytona, to lead that segment. So I love, that is the favorite part for me, because, man, if I have a season this year like I did last year, we're going to have a lot of bonus points going into the first and second rounds of the chase. So I applaud NASCAR for rewarding the guys that are going to take chances and get bonus points during the regular season.
Chris Knight.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Hi, Elliott.
What's up, Chris?
you've always been really outspoken in the sport for a long time. Were you surprised when you heard about Carl Edwards? And did it take a time? Is it a conversation that you've had with your wife or just any part of your racing family about just the aspects of life in racing and outside of racing?
Yeah, I was very surprised. I mean, one thing about living in Virginia, guys, you know, during the wintertime and we're hunting and all that, we're not always day-to-day on what's going on in the sport. And then when we found that out, my wife is really, really close with Kate, who is Carl's wife. So I know they had a lot of conversation back and forth after the announcement. Like, we didn't know anything until afterwards. And it was surprising to me because he's only 37 and holy cow, he's in great shape and he's still in the peak of his career and he's with a great race team and all this on and on and on. So, and I've heard the reasons and I understand kind of why. And my wife and I have had some conversations. And my conversation with her is, as long as I still feel it in here, like Homestead hurt, not winning the championship hurt. It's not like we were just like, well, oh well, we lost, we're going to move on. Like, I still eat, sleep, drink the sport that I'm a part of. And if I'm still going to be like that, I'm still going to do it. If I get to the day where I don't eat, sleep, and drink it, and I don't want to do the mental preparation or be in the gym every day, then I can walk away. But right now, I don't, you know, I'm on a different side of the thinking part than maybe than what Carl was. But I understand, I think, a little bit where he's going from, but it took a real man a lot for him to walk away, being in the surroundings and in the shape and everything he was in. But yes, my wife and I have had that conversation.
Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, ESPN, from when you were last in the shop, probably I would guess in November, to the time I assume you've been to the shop in the last few weeks. How different is it with the additional teams?
It's busy, Bob. We got a lot going on. You know, NASCAR has changed the rules a little bit with the bodies and stuff like that. So we got some stuff going on with the spoilers, and we got some stuff going on, you know, with the splitters and the travel difference in the front. So we got a lot going on, and we're trying to build cars and get ready, and we got to add roof flaps to our Speedway cars. So it's definitely busy over there. Junior Motorsports is going to build, you know, another shop to kind of help house all 4 cars. But right now the guys are, they have a lot going on. I'm glad Daytona's not tomorrow. We need more time to get everything right like we need to start the season like we should.
McFadden.
Dale McFadden with NBC Sports. You know, as it's been mentioned, you might not be sitting on the stage if one main hadn't decided to come back to the sport. I was wondering, when you got the phone call to say that they were coming back, who were you talking to, and what were the circumstances surrounding that phone call for you?
Yeah, the head man called me back and just like, look, and I understand, you know, we talked about this last year, just they had so much going on at one time, merging 2 big companies together, and it's a lot of times you got so much on your plate that something sometimes slides off to the side and you really can't focus on it. But once they got everything straight and they had a chance to look at the racing and look at all the metrics, and of course we were running good and winning races, I think definitely helps. We're tied in with one of the biggest names in the sport with Dale Jr., and I think once they start looking at that, they realize how close the demographics really are to the people they're trying to reach, to the NASCAR fan we have sitting at home. So it felt good. I mean, it's guys, it went from a very valley in my life to definitely a peak in my life to have some security next couple of years. And look, they're the longest running sponsor, primary sponsor in the Xfinity series. So for them to still stay and be a part of it says a lot for, I think, what we're doing as a sport. I think they like the direction we're going in.
Well, we certainly like listening to you, and we appreciate you taking the time, but got to keep you in that narrow window.
I understand. Thanks, guys, a lot, and have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you in Daytona.
Thank you very much. I think you go that way. Driver, Austin Dillon. Where have you been?
People out of the way, man. These platforms. New racing platform, you know, you got to be aggressive. So
yeah, that's right.
Making moves backstage.
You know, you're at the end of this stage of our media tour group. So
I get to finish.
Yeah, for this group. Then we got 4 more after you, and it's checkered flag. So let's start out with Kelly Crandall and see if you get some bonus points.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Austin. Ty yesterday talked about what an emotional moment it was for him when the deal with Germain Racing was finally done and he gets to go cup racing. As the big brother, how proud and happy are you for him?
I'm very proud, and he was emotional. He cried and gave me a hug. Thought that was cute. But no, it's special. You know, he's put a lot of effort into it, and that's what he's wanted to do his entire life. So I'm happy for him, and he should be happy and he should be excited. And now it's time where the work really begins, and looking forward to working with him. I think he's an asset to RCR.
Next question for Austin. Here we go. Louis?
Louis Franco Reuters. Your pop-up has 3 drivers. On which stand does he stay during the races?
Which pit box?
Pitch box. Excuse me. Long day.
I got you. The funny thing is he doesn't sit or stand on the pit boxes anymore. He kind of stopped doing that. He did it for Dale a lot, and when everything went down, he started standing. He has like certain locations that he goes and he stands. It used to be the old entitlement sponsor, their trailer, because he could see the entire track. So he's going to have to find a new spot this year, and good luck finding him. He's got some good ones. Daytona, though, he always goes all the way to the top of the above victory lane, and he goes up on top of like the security area. There's only a few people they let up through the chain up there, and he stands all the way up there because he can see the entire track. So he's got some good hiding spots, but he's unbiased when it comes to that. Maybe one day I can get him to sit on our box just for fun. Hopefully Slugger doesn't get any kind of penalty, but if he did, we could put RC in for a sub maybe.
Next question, right here, Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Has the winless drought at RCR kind of taken a life of its own? Is it like a big kind of fog over everyone?
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, no one likes to go winless, so you know, we want to wipe that out as soon as possible. And I think what was good for our entire company was going to the Hall of Fame induction with my grandfather. It lights a fire in all of our employees and myself included, and any kind of effort that we can do and not letting any stone go unturned to try and find any bit of speed, we're going to do it. And last year, making the chase, and now we have the playoff format. Bonus points are going to mean a lot, so speed is going to be something that we've got to rely on more. We were kind of a points-chasing organization for the last couple of years. Myself and Newman did a good job of getting into the chase and making a name for ourselves, I guess, by getting through each round. But now we're going to have to show speed early and often for these stages and the segments, and the strategy that goes into that will play a lot of it. But we've got our organization heading in the right direction. I'm excited, and there's a lot to be excited for. We had speed at the end of the year, winning those poles that we won. Texas, we had a lot of speed and got wrecked, and so we can be aggressive this year and do what it takes to keep ourselves in the front of the pack.
We'll go Chris Knight, then Don Gamble.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Austin, I was just curious that if you feel like that maybe you guys could test the waters a little bit on Saturday when you run the Xfinity races as far as the format and stages goes, that maybe you could apply to Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be big. I think that's a cool part about the new format. You have it in the trucks, Xfinity, leading up to Sunday. You'll be able to see some strategy played out, and we'll definitely be using that platform to get better at RCR. So anytime you can use, when a format change happen and you can kind of go through all the series, it's going to be good. And I think it's great for the fans also. They need to tune in and watch the truck in the Xfinity race at Daytona so they can learn more of what's going to happen, because it's going to be exciting.
Don Gamble rapping on racing. Austin, at the Hall of Fame Awards, very emotional for your whole family. I watched your grandfather race back in the early 70s at Heidelberg. Very humble beginnings, low-budget teams. Matter of fact, even more humble when he started with his $20 car. To be so successful, you have to be proud, and it showed when you and your brother were up there. But on a more serious note, they were teasing Junior earlier because his beard wasn't as good as Jimmy's, and you're growing one now. Is there going to be some sort of race here to have a better beard than Jimmy, or are you happy with what you have?
You know what's funny? So first of all, I'll answer the Hall of Fame. It was great, and my grandfather, you know, he is very serious when it comes to everything that he does. And my beard is an issue with him, and can be. And he compared it to Jimmy's beard. He said, you can keep it like Jimmy's, you know, it's nice. And so I sent him a picture a minute ago when NASCAR posted that photo of that big beard Jimmy said. I said, I guess I was just above my time because I had the big beard at the end of last year. Now Jimmy's got it now. So it's funny how that comes and goes. But no, super proud of my grandfather. He's done a lot for NASCAR. He's done a lot for all of his employees, myself included. And it makes you want to get this winless streak that Bob talked about cleared away. Just want to get him back where he deserves to be. He gives us the equipment, the organization to do it, and now we got to perform and make it happen. So,
Jacob.
Yes, sir.
Jacob Seelman, Performance Motorsports Network. Back here in the back, Austin. As far as, I know you said earlier you're proud of Ty, but at the same time, you guys are brothers. Has the sibling rivalry started yet? As the older brother, have you given him any grief yet as he's getting ready to go down this road?
It started when he was born, but yeah, you know, I think we do a lot to help each other and a lot to make it harder on each other because we care. And Ty cares as much as I do about RCR. I'm proud that he is an affiliate with us. You know, it's cool to be able to look at his driver traces this year and compare, and I think he'll be able to push myself and Ryan and Paul and all four of us hopefully, and plus our other affiliates can move our needle that we need to go forward with. So yeah, they're definitely Sundays and Saturdays has already been that way, but Sundays will kick in another level of it for sure.
Got about 2 minutes more. So RC goes up top, but where's Dad go? You know, is he going to be on your box or is he going to be on Ty's? Is he going to be on another team members?
My dad is
wherever Tina tells him.
When the race starts on Sunday, if you watch Game of Thrones, he's like a White Walker. You don't know where they're going to be. They just kind of keep walking around. He can't sit still, so he does a good job of just going through, and he kind of just goes with the flow. If he's feeling a certain way, he went and sat in my bus with my fiance last year, and like she had to kick him out because he was so making her mad because he was getting too jacked up. He gets jacked up and gets mad at me, gets mad at the crew, and then he'll calm back down. He wants to love on you, but you know, he's competitive, and that's where a lot of my fire comes from is my dad, and he's always pushing me.
One more question over here.
Zach Tanzvetti, Funchfetch. After your tailboat wreck there in 2015, are your feelings any different when you go back to Daytona?
No, I'm comfortable. You know, after going through a wreck like that, you feel like Superman there for a couple of weeks when you go back and you look at it. NASCAR's done a lot for safety. They've added new enhancements this year, and it's going to be fun going to Daytona because I feel like there's always a storyline going into Daytona. There's something about that track, something happens, something different, and it gives you something to talk about leading into our season. So it's very important how Daytona gets started from qualifying, and now with the duels, the point system. It's going to be aggressive from the start.
Stan, quickly. They're running to you.
Oh, yeah. Stan Creekmore, Outside the Box. Real quick, during the off season, did you do anything to just get racing completely out of your mind and your life?
You know, my family is kind of racing, so it's hard when you want to be with your family and not talk about racing. But I think the best thing I did that got me away from racing was getting in the outdoors, hunting and fishing. Went to Texas with actually some of my race team, but we really didn't talk. We were talking about deer the whole time, and dinner and lunch, because we were really excited to eat out there. I don't know why, because you're out there in the middle of nowhere. You get hungry, I guess. But that was fun, and that was probably the best thing about the off season as far as getting away. But you want to think about racing because last year ended really well for our team, and my entire team was like, man, I wish we could start over right now with what we know. And that was big also when in 2015 at the end of the year we found some speed. When in 2016 it was good. So 2016 ended with speed. We want to go into 2017. We wanted to start the next day. So that's big. It's momentum going in for us for Daytona. I'm refreshed and ready to go.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to be here. It was fun to listen to you. Your time block is done. You get the bonus points.
Thanks.
All right, this stage is over. Austin Dillon, appreciate you being here. We have 4 more drivers remaining today. We'll start out at 4.